I'm a huge fan of the Ken Pomeroy college basketball predictive metrics site. I was just talking to CBS Sports bracketologist Jerry Palm about how well constructed it is, easy to navigate vertically and horizontally, and how much useful data it holds. I've been a subscriber for years and just re-upped my annual payment on Tuesday. But one statistic in KenPalm.com drives me nuts. Partly because I think it's not quite indicative of its title, and partly because of the way a lot of bloggers have seized upon it to justify their preconceived notions. It's called the luck factor. I think it's not quite what it says it is. The luck factor is particularly germane to the local team because, according to Ken Palm, the unluckiest of 87 schools in the 7 recognized power conferences of college basketball, Big Ten, Atlantic Coast, Big 12 Southeastern, Big East, Pac-12, American, is none other than the Penn State Nittany Lions. They are ranked. When I think of luck, I think of aspects of life that are totally beyond either prediction or control. Being born in Yemen is bad luck. But the Ken Palm luck factor merely judges how many games a team has won or lost based on the team's average in scoring points and allowing them. Its system dictates that if a team averages this many points scored and allowed against this collective quality of competition, then it should win this many games. The luck factor is basically the variance between what that team was predicted to do and what it has actually done. Because Penn State has played and lost so many close games, it is categorized as a particularly unlucky team. Well, I think the term is a misnomer. Luck suggests factors over which a team has no control. Random bounces of the ball, bad officials' calls, injuries to key players. But Ken Palm's definition of luck is hardly limited to just those factors. In fact, it doesn't particularly consider any of them. It simply establishes how many games a team should win based on averages of points scored and allowed against its competition, then labels as luck the plus or minus variance from the expected mean. That's not luck. That's performance above or below what the data predicts. Which has to do with all sorts of factors that are within a team's control, no matter whether stat geeks want to recognize them. I wrote last week about one of Penn State's close losses, the 99-90 overtime loss to Purdue. In that column, I concentrated on 2 of the final 3 possessions of regulation. One was a missed official's call of an obvious foul on Purdue. That could be considered bad luck for Penn State, even though, as I said, traditional losing teams are more often victims of such mistakes. Then, I mentioned the following defensive possession in which Penn State looked utterly chaotic and allowed Purdue's star Carson Edwards to tie the game without so much as a legitimate challenge. That is not bad luck. It's inadequate coaching. As for PSU's remarkable string of excruciatingly close losses, 7 by 4 points or fewer or in overtime, lengthened by last night's 74-70 loss at Ohio State, there's a much more accurate explanation than simply bad luck. Penn State does not finish close games well because its offense is rudimentary and doesn't adequately exploit its limited resources. At the end of close games, defense is important, but it can only do so much. Want to close out games? Better have a systematic half-court offense with 2 or 3 scoring options and at least one confident playmaker who absolutely believes he will make the critical shot with the game on the line. I've seen a lot of close losses and dysfunctional half-court offense in 30 seasons covering Penn State basketball. That is especially true during the past 24 years, neatly divided into 8 seasons each among the tenures of Jerry Dunn, Ed Decalis and Patrick Chambers. The only times Penn State has risen above mediocrity in that time is when it's fielded such a shotmaker, a kid with a healthy infusion of arrogance in his makeup. Immediately coming to mind, Joe Crispin, Taylor Battle, Tony Carr. All 3 of those guys took bad shots. None of them was particularly efficient from a pure metric standpoint. But they were all 3 stone-cold killers. They wanted the ball at crunch time and delivered often as not. And because of the elementary nature of each of the offenses during the majority of each of those regimes, it usually took players who rose above the systems and made end-game shots that transcended the coaching. Think of Crispin stuck between two Michigan State defenders to hit the leaning tray that put the 2001 Lions up by 4 in the final seconds of the upset of 4 bottles and went dash around through an overall 5 defenders in the 2009 win over Illinois. Our car's dead I-40-foot buzzer beater to win at Ohio State in 2018. Even when Penn State has had that guy, it has lost its share of close games. When it has lacked him, it has lost a ton of them. It becomes the victim of endgame forces over which it conceivably could have some control but simply doesn't very well. Sometimes, its own familiarity with losing perpetuates its pattern. The Lions miss critical free throws or layups. They aren't convicted that they'll win, so they don't. That's not bad luck. That's lack of belief, which relates to the absence of a trusted system. In the Ohio State game, observers have pointed to an obscure timing rule that wiped out a potential go-ahead basket by Lamar Stevens with just over a minute left. They're calling it bad luck, and I think it qualifies as such. But what of the broad stretch of horrific half-court offense the Lions played in the first half when they were outscored 21-1 by an OSU team that wasn't exactly in a zone itself? If PSU plays merely adequate offense, it leads at halftime and has a substantially better chance to win. That wasn't luck. In the Purdue game, the no call when Stevens was clearly fouled by Nigel Eastern with 15 left, and could have put PSU up by 4 points with 2 free throws, was accurately seen as bad luck. But what about the subsequent possession when Edwards was allowed to receive the inbounds pass and rocketed up the floor and directly to the hoop unobstructed in 8 seconds to tie the game? That wasn't luck. At crunch time, Chambers usually simply isolates his star forward Stevens and depends upon him to ram into traffic and somehow make a play when everyone knows he's coming. PSU doesn't have an established point guard. It doesn't have a clutch shot maker. It doesn't often get good shots when it needs them most. And it consistently gets beat at the three-point arc, where games are increasingly won and lost these days. In Big Ten contests, the Lions rank dead last in the league in both three-point percentage offense, .281, and defense, .408. That's not luck. That's part design, part performance and part confidence. Chambers' defense is his team's backbone. But defenses don't usually win close games at the end. Organized defenses and playmakers more often do. Defenses tend to get softer at ends of games. They're tired, they're more cautious. Even good defensive teams aren't quite as good in the final minutes. If you don't have an effective offensive system or a couple of skilled offensive players with arrogance, you are more often going to lose the close ones. And Penn State has been losing them at a dizzying rate. The Lions are not an especially unlucky team. They're simply bad at finishing games. Big difference. They're good enough to compete, but not organized and confident enough on offense to win. You believe you can succeed, your design helps you to win the close ones a few times, you will keep winning them. Same goes in opposite for losing. That's not luck. That's system, belief and confidence. And it's not merely chance that Penn State displays very little of those. Email, Twitter David Jones, Jones@PennLive.com, follow @JonesJoop.